Good evening. It's John. Just a few words on the Jon Snow reveal at the season 6 finale of Game of Thrones. The title of the episode being Winds of Winter, which is the promised sixth book from George R. Martin, hitherto known and spoken of as Gurm, because George R. Martin is ridiculous to constantly have to say. Uh, Winds of Winter, sixth book. Right. Finale. I really don't think that most of the people who just watch the show Game of Thrones and don't read the books, I don't think a lot of them are really getting the impact of the reveal with Jon Snow at the end. And I think the main reason why is because Dan and Dave have shown themselves to be hacks and to do really the most sort of egregious, self-serving fan fiction that the last two seasons have basically been. Uh, Jon Snow, myself included, with probably like millions of other people, figured out already that he's not Ned's bastard son. We've already figured out that he's the son of Rhaegar Targaryen and Lyanna Stark. So if you're thinking Robert Baratheon, get it out of your head now, because it's wrong. It's not Robert Baratheon. Oh, but Kit Harington, they got him with the dark hair and the dark eyes. No. No. Oh, Baratheons have that, and the seed is strong. Baratheons are also part Targaryen, which means that even if you are part Targaryen, doesn't mean you have to have the platinum blonde hair and the violet eyes, or the purple eyes, or the blue eyes, or whatever not brown eyes things that they're supposed to have. So it's possible to do that. And not have to be full Targaryen. And again, also, Baratheons being part Targaryen is the reason why Ned, when he found after Jaime had killed Aerys that he didn't want to take the throne anyway, and he thought Robert had the better of the claims, was because of that Targaryen blood. So they got dark hair too. They don't look sort of, elfy vampire. So it's possible to be Targaryen and not have that whole thing. They make reference to Jon and Arya looking similar, and Arya is basically Lyanna reborn practically. They're not having that as an actual reborn thing like Azor Ahai, also Jon Snow. But that sort of thing. Arya looks like Lyanna, acts like Lyanna, sort of wild wolf girl sort of thing. Jon Snow looks like Arya, so Jon Snow looks like Mom. Not a big surprise, especially if we're talking about it being a song of ice and fire. If we have, he's this sort of combination of that. And since he's got the whole Stark and fighting the stuff in the winter, and we have Daenerys coming in later and everything too, ice and fire. And she's just doing that right now to get attention. So ignore the cat behind the curtain who's just doing this to get attention. Cheeky little monkey. Luna Arya, aptly named. You can't see me. I was actually pointing at her. She was over here, and now kind of in this more. Anyway, so Jon's Rhaegar's son and Lyanna's son. What this means, because again, going to the people who were just going to the show, they barely ever mentioned Rhaegar. It was like 2 or 3 times, and one of them was Robert saying his BS about, oh, he took her and I was supposed to have her, and Lyanna, that is, and all this other stuff. Robert Baratheon loved Lyanna. Lyanna didn't want anything to do with him. Rhaegar and Lyanna were in love. Sorry, Elia of Dorne. You weren't the love of Rhaegar's life. Sorry, Cersei. Neither were you. He loved Lyanna, and that was one of the reasons why some of the troubles kind of started, because instead of when he won this tournament, he gave Lyanna, not his wife, the Queen of Love and Beauty, crown, which sort of made everyone go, hmm. But if we look at Jon Snow's personality kind of maudlin, kind of, and we think that was Rhaegar. Rhaegar started out as being, almost like kind of an Apollo character sort of thing, not like Apollo Creed from Rocky or Apollo from either version of Battlestar. Although, as far as I'm concerned, the second, more recent Battlestar Galactica with Edward James Olmos is the only one that really counts. Big breath. But I mean, he was kind of artsy, he was kind of brooding, very scholarly, intellectual, very good at music. This cat is just train wrecking every chance she gets. And then one day, when he's kind of young, he goes and reads something and comes out changed. Like, I have to learn how to fight. We don't know what it was. We don't know anything going along with it. There's been talk about, the dragon has 3 heads, and all the prophecies with the White Walkers coming back into Azor Ahai, and he probably figured he had something to do with that. Interestingly enough, I just saw on Facebook, apparently it was Kit Harington, posted a picture with him, Emilia Clarke, and Peter Dinklage. So Jon Snow, Daenerys Targaryen, not named Khaleesi, it's Daenerys Targaryen, and Tyrion Lannister, respectively. Saying 3 heads of the dragon, which is something that I was thinking of. There's 3 dragons. There's supposed to be 3 heads of the dragon. Tyrion's going to be the hand of Daenerys. Probably a spoiler from the show, hopefully in the book, with that. And so maybe that was something Rhaegar found. So he became a little bit more militarized and kind of more badass on top of everything else. Won the tournament, gave the prize to Lyanna Stark, and that sort of started the ball rolling and all this other stuff that kind of just crumbled everything from there, which would mean that it was Aerys Targaryen was the king, the Mad King. We have Rhaegar, who was next in line. There's Viserys, Daenerys, or some of the other kids with that, which means as the son of the heir, as Jon Snow is Rhaegar's son, the heir, he has more of a claim for the crown than Daenerys. This is especially if Rhaegar and Lyanna were married. I personally can see Rhaegar being romantic and sort of screw convention. I love you enough. Let's just go. We'll marry under the old gods. He probably got married at the Sept with Elia of Dorne and all that stuff. With the new gods, I could see him saying, we're going to honor your old gods and get married with that. I don't love her like I love you or anything anyway. The other kids, whatever. It might be more interesting to watch her than this, to be honest. You're hearing part of the train wreck, you're just not getting the full thing. So, Jon Snow is sort of in himself the Song of Ice and Fire, with the Targaryens with the fire, Starks with the snow. He's the Azor Ahai reborn, fated to defeat the White Walkers. He's probably going to do so with the help of Daenerys and the dragons flying in and burning the crap out of everything. So this is really why the impact of Jon Snow not being Ned's bastard or Robert Baratheon's, get that out of your head, because Lyanna wanted nothing to do with Robert Baratheon. No one wanted anything to do with Robert Baratheon except Ned. Get that out of your head. So that's why it's a big deal. Jon Snow's parents. It's not because it was Ned's mistake. Ned's mistake was, it wasn't even a mistake. He was that good of a guy. He swore to Lyanna and he wouldn't tell anyone, because we already know Tywin Lannister has no problem killing Rhaegar's kids, little babies, little kids, no problem with that. And Robert might not have realized that, hey, this is Lyanna's kid, maybe I should honor it and be like, that's Rhaegar's kid, I need to kill it. So in order to save the kid, Ned swore that he'd protect him, and he did so the best he could. Unfortunately, Jon Snow also had to grow up around Catelyn Stark, which might have taught him some sort of mental toughness with being pretty much neglected and abused by her. Despite what the show said, sorry, people who don't read the books, Catelyn never felt any regret about how crappy she treated Jon Snow whatsoever. She was horrible to the very end. But that's the big deal. That's the reason why it was such a... because it's Rhaegar's kid. And especially if they legitimized, even in a secret ceremony, if he's legitimate, he is the heir to the throne. No Baratheon, no Lannister, not even Daenerys. So that's the big deal with that. That got really lost by Dan and Dave just being terrible storytellers at this point in time. I mean, that whole whatever, that was the fifth season was just one big, massive, um, uh, just juvenile fanfic. Fifth season, the only thing that saved the fifth season from being the exact same way is they had fancy Gurm spoilers that they could get to. And you could tell which ones they were because they were just way too clever for Dan and Dave to have done. The whole thing with Hodor and the timey thing with the dimensional stuff in the brains and the time and the perception of that was way too clever for them. That was clearly a book spoiler. The Jon Snow thing, book spoiler. And who knows what the rest of it. Cersei blowing up the Sept. I mean, they showed enough wildfire, the whole city should have gone up. So some of that stuff might have been book spoilers as well. But that's the big deal with that particular book spoiler, with Jon being Rhaegar Targaryen's and Lyanna Stark's kid. So that's what's important about that. Once again, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching me ramble on for, my little counter says, about 12 minutes now. Didn't expect that, but that's the way it goes. Please like, subscribe, share, and all that other fancy good stuff with that. Thank you. Have a good night.